Welcome back, everyone, to another episode, special edition of Sportsfellas.
Yeah.
Hey.
All right, I'm Kyle. I root for, the greatest team in the NFL, the Indianapolis Colts. Just want to share that with you guys. Happy to be here and ready to have some conversation.
Yeah, and it's your boy Tristan here once again, Chiefs Kingdom.
It's Travis repping out the Chargers.
It's Edwards. Sadly, you're repping out the Cowboys.
This is Chuck coming from Houston. Go Texans.
Well, and guys, I'm excited. It's your Buckeye Believe in Rock Chalk Jayhawk and Wichita State shocking Who Day hopeful Chris with a K. What's up, Carlos?
I don't have a punchline for that. That's just awesome. And, I come from the Rocky Mountain Tops, Denver, the Broncos. We're in dormant right now. So I'm glad you guys are here. Thank you guys for being here. We have this special edition. Thank goodness we have another Super Bowl to watch. So before we dive into the teams, let's give a quick, brief pause and thank our following sponsors.
Razor Cut Information would like to thank you, Ernie Reles, at State Farm, located at 11330 East Central, Wichita, Kansas. Please visit Ernie to talk about your home, auto, life insurance needs. As they say, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Thank you, Ernie.
All right, you guys. So representing the AFC champions, we have the Cincinnati Bengals.
Who Day?
All right. And representing the NFC champions, we have the Los Angeles Rams. Two teams made it to this stage of the game.
Yeah.
For the second time in NFL history, we have the hosting team going to be representing the Super Bowl. So let's go ahead and break this down. We're going to start off with the Los Angeles Rams. So the Los Angeles Rams won the NFC West. They went through the playoffs, beating the Arizona Cardinals. They beat also the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who were the former Super Bowl champions, and they made their way in beating the San Francisco 49ers. So I'm going to start this off with you, Kyle. Let's talk about a little bit about the Rams here. So on a brief view that you see offensively, let's talk about their offense real quick. Tell me a little bit about the strengths that the Los Angeles Rams are bringing into the Super Bowl.
Well, the Rams, I think were expected to be here, with the trades that they made. They may have mortgaged their future a little bit in order to get here. So their plan worked and paid off. From an offensive perspective, unfortunately, Cooper Kupp stole the Offensive Player of the Year from the true person that should have won it, Jonathan Taylor. But Sean McVay just said,
or Wentz threw it away for him.
That's probably more likely. But Sean McVay just came through and said, "Hey, this is what we're going to do, and we're just going to do it really well, and we're going to throw it 50 times to Cooper Kupp, and he runs great routes, so good luck." And I think he's going to have huge success in the Super Bowl, just like he's had all season long, because he runs disciplined routes and they feed him the ball. So. Really, the offense obviously runs through him. Stafford's going to sling it a bunch of times. It just depends if he gets sloppy with his throws and leads the league in interceptions like he did. So,
And I think one of the strengths for the Rams is definitely they have more experience. The Bengals are a very young team, and they haven't, been to the Super Bowl at all. But, we have OBJ, you have Cooper Kupp, you have Matthew Stafford, his 13th season. And
Have any of those guys been to the Super Bowl before?
No, but I'm saying they have more.
Just
overall, they have more experience.
Shots fired already. Shots fired.
Like, I would take Cooper Kupp over Jamar Chase.
For sure. I mean, this season,
Yeah, and he's having a phenomenal season. I love their pass game that they got going on.
Yeah.
And introducing Cam Akers back into the playoffs has really helped them control that clock as well.
I like the point that you brought up about the veterans. I feel like this one would be more of a Matthew Stafford kind of game. I feel like Joe Burrow's still got some learning to do before he can prove it.
And then, with the Rams, it's really Super Bowl or bust. But I genuinely feel, Cincinnati, they have nothing to lose. So, therefore, I have them, coming out with a win. Matthew Stafford hasn't really played any kind of championship football other than this season. So, he's in, immense pressure. And I just don't think he's ready for it.
I think if you've seen the teams going through the playoffs, and I think LA is a lot more consistent team. They seem to be a 4-quarter team. They're not just showing up in the beginning and falling off, or just like the Bengals did. They showed up in the fourth and did what they needed to do. So having the more consistency on your side definitely helps them with, I think, their game plan and what Sean McVay does with that offense. So I think that's probably their key going into this as far as pulling a victory off. And I think Cincinnati's is really just their deep threat star power like that. I mean, their running game is really good too. They don't have as many heads in the backfield as LA does. So I think health-wise, let's see an injury happen in the backfield for Cincinnati and watch that game go a completely different direction for them. But, knock on wood. But I think that the consistency against a team's offensive pretty much score almost any time they want when they need to, I think is going to be the two game plans that show up for each team.
Yeah, I think this is going to be really interesting. Sean McVay, obviously Zach Taylor came previously, before being a head coach for the Bengals, was the quarterback's coach for the Rams. So there's some familiarity there, and they're coming out of the same, that same coaching tree and style. And if I remember, that Rams game against the Patriots, wasn't it 3 years ago? That was the really low-scoring one. Patriots wound up winning like 9-6 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So something really silly like that low. And that's a Sean McVay. That's kind of the way they run that. A very conservative. They run a lot of stuff. And the Bengals are similar. They can fight those dogfight games like they played Denver in a low-scoring game as well. And so I think they have kind of that similar deal. But, man, that defense of the Rams, you got two basically first-ballot Hall of Famers, maybe three on the line, in that front seven with Floyd, possibly depending on how his career persists. But, I mean, you can't really deny Donald and Von Miller's stats. The leading sacker in the league right now, Von Miller, and Aaron Donald's just, insane, one-of-a-kind talent. And so Frank Pollock, the offensive line coach for the Bengals, was a rehire this year, and it's really helped. They say the offensive line switched to that wide zone, the zone read, running lanes and stuff like that Houston did so well for many years. And so I've been a fan of that zone. Hopefully they can do something to manage those linemen, because
it's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough. And I know Burrow's got some slick moves and stuff, but dude, Donald is
but how many times did Burrow get sacked in the Titans game? It didn't matter.
9 times.
Well, he's playing the Rams now.
They still only scored 17 points that game too. So it mattered a little bit.
You just said the Rams coming to the Super Bowl, and last time they were there, they scored.
That was under Jared Goff, though. Come on, Jared Goff.
Yeah, I do. Some of the things with the Rams, I think there may be a little bit of pushing, because they did, obviously, like you were saying, Kyle. They got all those acquisitions this year with trades, picking up OBJ off the wire. The huge one, the big trade for Stafford, where they did mortgage their future. They gave 2 first rounders maybe,
yep.
And they're probably gonna have to renegotiate that contract soon. You got to feel great for Stafford. He's been a phenomenal force. He took the freaking Lions to the playoffs. Just to do that, that's a huge thing. That's like Mayfield taking the Browns to the playoffs. Sorry, Browns fans.
This is an interesting thing. This is Sean McVay's second appearance in a Super Bowl, and yes, as you mentioned, for them to trade Jared Goff to get Matthew Stafford, that's a start. But you see, it was time to play now. And like Ed mentioned prior, Matthew Stafford has not even been on the biggest stage here. This is new to him. But look at the key pieces that he was able to acquire, especially with Robert Woods going down. They got Odell Beckham. Then Higbee is out for the Super Bowl. They replaced him with the second person that's in there, which he's not really had a lot of starts. But the fact is that on the defense side, you still got shut down in Jalen Ramsey. Then they picked up Eric Weddle. He's former Charger, by the way. Travis knows. He played real great years there. And especially now, when Von Miller left Denver to go to the Rams, I thought, okay, hey, sayonara, wish you the best. And look, it's paid off dividends. So on the offense side, now they've got Cam Akers, he's coming back. Also, they just activated Anderson, so he's coming back as well. So offensively, Matthew Stafford has the key pieces to go in offensively. So speaking of the offense,
he has been a little prone to interceptions, even
Right.
in the postseason. When he gets under pressure, he tends to force it a little bit towards. I mean, why not throw it at Cooper Kupp? Probably chances are he's going to catch it and run it a lot. But he has been a little prone to forcing that. And this off season or this postseason, the Bengals defense has been somewhat opportunistic in their in the interception rates. They're on a +5 turnover ratio right now. So that's one place. If the Bengals do have a chance, that's I think one place that they're going to have to step up is to put some pressure on Stafford, make him rush. Obviously, he's not quite as mobile as like a Patrick Mahomes or even necessarily Ryan Tannehill. Not that he's a statue like a Roethlisberger or a Brady, but he's not going to run like a Mahomes for sure. Right. Or I mean, Tannehill's a good athlete. He doesn't run much, but he's a very good athlete. So I think that's going to be something that the Rams are going to have to try. If they want to have a good shot, they're going to have to limit those miscalculations.
Well, let's go ahead. Let's start off with the Rams on their offensive weapon. So I'm going to start this off with you, Tristan. So on the wide receiver side, they have Jefferson. They got Cooper Kupp. Now they have Odell Beckham. Now, with the weapons on the wide receiver side, tell me the pros that's going to help Stafford if he wants to win in the Super Bowl.
You got two deep threats. Odell's a deep threat. So is Cooper Kupp. That really helped. And Van Jefferson. I feel like all his receivers are deep threats, and they're very good route runners. That's going to help tremendously.
He's got a deep threat arm, though. I mean, Matt Stafford has probably one of the most touched by God arms
It's
out
up there
there
with, Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen. They can ball
but he doesn't look it. He's kind of
Uh-huh.
he's a little bit round. He doesn't have quite the physical look that some of those guys do. But he has a cannon arm. So I think you're right on that deep threat.
Well, and not only the deep threat is that he can throw a slant, and they're going to get 20-plus yards just based off their speed and, their good route running. And to be frank, man, those corners, that defense, I don't see him being dominant against those receivers.
Not being able to stop those super fast receivers like Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, Travis Kelce.
They can't stop it, shut
they're
down.
They're overrated. Come on now.
I don't know. Chidobe Awuzie, who we got picked up from Dallas, he was a first or second round pick. He's really locked down. He is a come in and really step the game up on his side.
Well, speaking of, okay, so Ed, let me ask you this question, Ed. So we know already Cooper Kupp he put up statistic numbers. I mean, this is a guy that's putting up numbers only we've seen in the legends, the Hall of Famers, and Randy Moss and Jerry Rice. So Ed, I'm going to tell you this: with Cooper Kupp going in tomorrow, what kind of scheme are you thinking that they're going to do against the Bengals? Because we know already Apple, the corner of Apple, what's his first name? Eli Apple. Shutting down your boy, Tristan, your boy.
Bro, he did not.
Okay, hey, this is not your show, Tristan. This is not your show. See, this is why when we bring Chief fans, they get worked up emotionally.
Apple's usually, well, I don't know if they rotate corners.
Okay, so back to the question, Ed. I'm going to ask you.
Like
I'm going to ask you,
long.
Ed. I'm going to ask you the question. So with Cooper Kupp, offensively, what do you see him doing tomorrow for them to be successful to win? Especially Cooper Kupp and Odell Beckham. It don't matter. You choose on the wide receiver core.
I mean, with either wide receivers, either Cooper or OBJ. I mean, it all comes down to man to man. If they're able to get separation, and be able to have the Cincinnati secondary miss tackles, and I mean basically if Cincinnati basically leaves Cooper Kupp like how Tampa Bay secondary, left them. I mean, it's going to be a long night for Cincinnati.
He'll eat them up. If they play 1-on-1 the whole time, it's going to be.
Yeah, so I mean, they're going to have to play at least cover 2, because man-to-man coverage. I mean, just that's
honestly, I could see him just. Wouldn't it be kind of crazy if they pull something similar what they did against Kansas City in that second half, where they just drop everybody and they're like, dude, we're just not going to let. And they wouldn't even have to leave a spy for Stafford. Like they still had a spy on Mahomes the whole time.
Yeah.
that would wait, like a 3 or 4 count before rushing.
Yeah.
And so I think they could drop even 9 and have leave, or definitely drop an 8 and just having rushing 3, and because those, Hendrickson and Hubbard are pretty relentless. So there's a chance they could do some weird things like that because they do have. Cincinnati's defense is a little underrated, but they've got some major talent. Jesse Bates would have been an All-Pro this year. Woulda. You got Von Bell, who was a first-round draft pick. Go Bucks. You got Eli Apple, first-round draft pick. Go Bucks. You've got Sam Hubbard, who wasn't a first. He was, I believe, a third-round. No, he was a second-round draft pick. Buckeyes there, by the way. Man, at LSU, it's like they picked all the champion players off of different teams and put them on one.
I smell conspiracy. Hey, so what are your thoughts, Chuck, on the wide receiver core?
Well, I think it's going to come down to the quarterback themselves. The Rams have the deep threat. They've got OBJ's technical skills and just insane hands, regardless of anybody on him. He's going to catch the football if he really wants to. What was it? I think it was the last week of the season. I think Cooper Kupp had like a 46-yard reception, and he only had 118 yards on the day. So he relies on the deep ball to be that kind of production, I think, depending on his defense that he's going up against. The Bengals themselves, I think they almost seem similar because Jamar Chase can catch the football no matter who's on him, no matter what. So the guy shows OBJ-esque.
As long as it's not the preseason.
Yeah. And he's got he's got better targets, I think, than the Rams as far as depth goes. But Jamar Chase is the one in the postseason that's taken all the attention away. So their our WR2 and WR3 is going to have to step up and have to take off a lot of that pressure. But I think it comes down to Joe Burrow and it comes down to Matt Stafford. Joe Burrow's offensive line has to do their job against one of the best defenses in the league, and it's really hard to do. There's just no way around that. Those guys can be double teamed all day long. Someone from the other side is going to get back there. So that's going to be their equation to success, is getting your offensive line to do their job, having a run game that takes pressure off the quarterback. You have some play action, and you can still throw the ball deep when you need to get those big plays. The Rams themselves, I think they just stay consistent. Just be consistent on offense. You score once to twice a quarter. You keep the ball in your possession. They have a better run game, so I think time of possession goes to them. And I think with their defensive pressure, that offense stays on the field when they need to. The defense stays energetic and doesn't have to be on the field as much because the offense can drive the ball down. So I think those two equations is really more important to each offense than really the other storylines of the games.
Well, Chuck, I'm glad you brought up the running game. I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to Travis. Travis, what do you think about the Rams' run game going in tomorrow?
Rams' run game, I feel like they're going to have to rely on Cam Akers a lot. Not only Cam Akers, but once in a while on Sonny Michel. I feel like it's a good duo. I just feel like if they're going to do well at the run game, they just got to start from the beginning, trying to work the way on that Bengals defense to wear them down as much as possible.
How about you, Kyle?
I think they need to really focus on the run game. The thing that I predict, I think Eli Apple is going to have a huge game. And the reason I think that is because, I pay attention to the stories and the mindsets of people going into games because any team can beat any team in the NFL. Yeah. And the only thing I'm reading about the Rams is Sean McVay talking about he wants to spend time at home. He wants to be an analyst so freaking bad. He wants to be John Gruden more than anyone. And this is his second chance at the Super Bowl. If you're a two-time loser in the Super Bowl, ABC's not calling you up. So he's going to get aggressive. He's going to throw the ball a lot, I think. And unfortunately, he has an interception machine behind the center for his team. So I think that if he gets too crazy with it, they're going to turn the ball over a lot, and it won't matter how good Cooper Kupp is.
How about you, Driston?
All right. Well, I think clearly the Bengals have a better running game, but I think I don't think they'll rely too heavily on Cam Akers. He hasn't been a big part in this offseason, so they're going to definitely have to bring in Darrell Henderson now that he's healthy and he's been activated, as well as, Sonny Michel. I think they're going to rely on all three, sort of a committee. But even then, I see them more. They're scheming more, is what you said. Is they're gonna have that pass game going on and try to make something happen. But I feel like if they take a lead, they're gonna need to run that clock out because they can't give the ball back to the Bengals, especially through picks or whatever turnovers.
If I'm going to predict a little, what I think is going to happen is it's going to be a tempo game going in. When I watched the game, if you watch the game against how they played against the Buccaneers, once they caught that the corners were slipping and they couldn't hold that one-on-one, they start darting in the air. With San Francisco, it was a trench warfare going on because they're familiar with each other. So in this game, looking at the game on the Bengals side, you saw that with the Raiders, they relied on the run a little bit, more of a passing scheme. Then when they played against the Titans, the run game came through in that last fourth quarter. So Mixon was able to control that. Now with Kansas City, again, your boys, Driston, they found out once your defense was kind of wearing out, that's when they implemented. Mixon went in and went with the run. Now with the Rams, I believe you 100%. It's going to be a committee, but I feel who's going to get most of the star power is going to be Cam Akers on the run game. So now on the defense side, Ed, we have Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers in Aaron Darnold, Von Miller, Eric Weddle as well, Jalen Ramsey. Defensively, what do you see the Rams doing for their keys to win tomorrow?
Well, I definitely want to start out. You got to give credit where credit's due. I mean, they have future Hall of Famers. I mean, Aaron Donald. He's coming. In vengeance. To what happened to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago against the Patriots. So they're really just gonna come out with everything, with all sorts of firepower. But I also wanted to mention on the offensive side with the Bengals, don't be surprised if they come out 4th and 2, 4th and 3, and go for it.
How about you, Chuck?
As far as defense goes, they have the star power, but I don't think they have the depth. So if the defense can do its job and the offense can keep them off the field, they'll last to the fourth quarter and have that end-of-game push and oomph. Because as the Bengals have proven, is they can drive in the last end of the game, and they can push your buttons, and they can run the score up. And if you can't stop them, they're not going to get stopped. So if you can't play conservative defense and keep the ball in your control and keep the Bengals at bay for a while, and then use that third and fourth quarter, you made your adjustments at halftime, but you've got the energy left. Because if they come out pushing and they think they're going to get up by 3 or 4 scores, and then in the fourth quarter you get tired, well, guess what? There's not another team that has shown in the playoffs that can score as much in the fourth quarter as the Bengals have. So, I guess the Buccaneers tried to, but it was very
they
almost,
sure threw it up
almost.
there, didn't they?
But I mean, I also wanted to add just on Jalen Ramsey's side. I mean, we already know he's a lockdown corner, and that side of the field it's covered. But the other end, it's kind of suspect.
I suspect that they'll probably wind up putting Ramsey. I don't know that he'll follow anyone unless someone starts torching him. He'll probably just have his side of the field, and then they'll probably double whoever's on the other side, kind of deal, or whoever they feel the second option type. That would be my guess on the D-back side, and hopefully, I would think their plan is to cover long enough to give, those Hall of Famers a few seconds to do their job.
Chris, if I could interject, and Kyle, back me up in case if I'm right or wrong on this, but this is what I'm thinking. Jalen Ramsey's got a little ego-ness going on. You know how he is. My gut tells me he's going to want to lock up on Jamar Chase.
You think
he
so?
wants to. Yeah, of course.
I think so too.
It's going to be an ego
agree
thing.
with
He's
that.
going to try to lock him down. Now watch if he
I
bites
hope so,
on that,
because I think
now,
T. Higgins will blow
well,
up.
here's
Yeah.
And
Chris, you're
Boyd
stealing
can
my
put up numbers.
you're stealing my thunder, Chris. That's what I was about to say. So Kyle, if they do lock up one-on-one, and then they decide, okay, we're going to play man, you already know already against that game against the Chiefs when they did that, Higgins stepped up. And don't forget also you've got other options going in. I mean, because once the thing is with the Bengals, you guys like to block in 5, and then you'll have Mixon as an extra as a block. But sometimes to avert the sacks, because Joe Burrow got sacked quite a bit during the playoffs. Now, Kyle, if that's the case, that especially like Ramsey, I feel like Ramsey's going to go lock up one-on-one. I feel that Von Miller and Aaron Darnold is going to kind of line up they're going to kind of line up together. Since we know Von Miller is a pass rusher, and I told Tristan this the other day, Von Miller, his goal is just going to be just to, just pass rush on the edge and let Aaron Darnold go run it up the middle. So, Kyle, do you think that my defensive scheme, what they're going to do tomorrow, is going to match up, or do you see something different?
Yeah, I think that's how it's going to go down. I think Chuck hit the nail on the head with depth on the defense, because now you're talking about a nickel corner who is not going to be the issue is the best Super Bowl teams that we all talk about. Later we go back and we say, oh, Teddy Bruschi's a Hall of Famer. But during his first Super Bowl, no one thought that, right? And because
he was just a good player.
Yeah, he was just a good player because the Patriots were stacked with depth. Every position, every player. And the issue is when you get 2 or 3 for sure surefire Hall of Famers, you're neglecting other areas of the field. And that's where I think that whole side of the field might be in for a wake-up call.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the AFC champions. And it's not the Kansas City Chiefs. It is the Cincinnati Bengals.
Hey, man. Can't have it every year, man.
It is what it is.
Gotta share that love. Even Brady didn't win them all.
All right, so let's go ahead. Let's talk on the offense side. So we see that Cincinnati had quite of a amazing run, winning the AFC North, and then on their way to the playoffs, beating the Las Vegas Raiders. They ended up beating also the number 1 seed in the Tennessee Titans, and then going on and beating the AFC West champions of the Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm going to start this off with you, Chris. Let's talk about Joe Burrow first. What is he bringing to the table? What is he bringing to the table?
That confidence, that swagger. I mean, that's all I keep hearing. The cool, you sit down with him, everyone just wants to fight for him, and everyone believes, basically, that everyone on the team just believes they have a chance with him. And so as long as they have a chance, they're going to fight harder. And so he just brings the fire for him. I don't know. Somehow he's got so much confidence and swag that he can overcome a 30-year plus curse and maybe even go further than that. So that's the number one thing. Burrow, he's slippery, but he's not a runner. Like, he's not always looking to run, but he can get you 8, 9, 10 yards in a crunch. And I listened to a few interviews with Coach O, Ed Ogeron, from his LSU days. Obviously, he was a big interviewee during Super Bowl week with he had three guys off that team that are in this game that are on the Bengals, and a couple older LSU guys off for the Rams, OBJ, of course, and then Andrew Whitworth, the lineman, who was the NFL Man of the Year. So congrats to him. He's an ex-Bengals for a long time. He's a great player. I like that guy. Yeah. But that's where it starts on offense. Joe Burrow. And, yes, he's probably going to get sacked at least a few times, probably more than that. He's probably going to get hit 10-plus times. I hope that he doesn't get hit too hard and can, when he doesn't get hit, make those plays that he has been showing that he has the ability to do. One of it is his faith in his receivers. I mean, I know there was a lot of talk during the draft last year, Jamar Chase or this lineman, Penei Sewell, and everyone, protect Joe. And obviously he still needs protection. But, I mean, the relationship that that is the connection between those two on the field is, that would have been one of the worst passes ever to break that tandem up. And so I think that's a big key. How they can get Jamar Chase. I think even if they do 1-1, if Jay Ramsey's like, I got him, man, he can run that jet sweep pretty good from the wide receiver, and he can get some yards. And I don't think Ramsey's going to want to hit him that many times when he's running with a head full of steam, to be honest, because Jamar Chase is he's a brick house.
Mike Evans did what he needed to when he had to.
Right. Yeah, and Ramsey got all that was that kind of made me laugh because he got peeved because Evans beat one of his guys. He's like, I got him, and got burned for a touchdown next play. I think Brady knew it too. He's like, oh, really? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. You're not that good, my friend. This is, and you got that, and he plays really well off the play action. I think that's key is getting Mixon moving. I think that's one of the keys to slowing that rush is run it right at Miller. Just give it, if they can pull a guard or something and just hit that side hard. They've also got a lot of screen passes, a lot of wide receiver stuff and short underneath stuff. And I think that's going to be a key to the game in the passing side is at least at the beginning, to slow that rush down is some screens, running it right at them. That's going to be probably easier said than done. But those are some of the keys. I really think that, yeah, the linemen aren't great, but they do have some great moments. And I feel like if they can capitalize on some of those great moments, they're going to have a really good chance. I mean, if they get inside the 50, Money McPherson, ice cold veins is putting it through, buddy.
Here's the thing. Joe Burrow he's got the eye of the tiger. He's got the stogie. This guy's ready to go.
Only when he wins championships.
But here's the thing: is the
Which he
confidence
does.
that he brings into the table, and the simple fact is that the team rallies behind him. It's amazing to see such a young talent. I mean, don't get me wrong. When I saw him in college, especially at LSU, when he beat that, I think it was like week 2 or 3 when they beat Texas at Texas. I knew this guy was this guy's dangerous. This guy's the real deal.
And weirdly, before that, I mean, he went through some hard years before. It wasn't like every year he was the starter. I mean, he had some rough years at OSU, at Ohio State, before he moved down to LSU. Even his first year down at LSU wasn't great by any standards. I mean, fairly average to mediocre. But he did some things, and the team saw him do those things and started rallying around him, and it took him to a champion, Heisman year and a national championship.
So Kyle, what are you seeing in Joe Burrow going to do tomorrow?
I really think that they're going to come in. Joey is so cool, right? He's calm. He's got that field general Tom Brady. I hate even saying that, but he doesn't have to be a top 5 quarterback. He just has to make all the other players on the roster 10% better, and then they will win. And I think he's figured that out. If he can motivate guys, if he can get them going, and then the other thing is they're playing with house money, right? They came in. There's nobody even. I don't know a single person besides you, maybe Chris, that thought that they were going to be in the Super Bowl.
Oh no, I didn't even.
And didn't even think they would. Even as a fan, didn't even think they were going to be there.
I mean, they were four wins last year.
Yeah, exactly.
Kyle, did you see how when the owner got the award? Did you see how stoked he was? He didn't know how to act. The guy's up here is like, it's been like 30-something years I've been up here. he was lost for words. But, hey, Travis, I'm going to ask you a question. So if you could do a little slight prediction, who is going to get the most? Who's Joe going to throw the ball most to tomorrow?
I'm probably going to have to go with T. Higgins. Last few
receptions
weeks.
Or yards?
Yards. Especially when he played against the Chargers in the regular season. He threw to T. Higgins most of the time, I would say. And since then, I mean, it's been kind of a T. Higgins show if Jamar Chase has been locked up. So I feel like if Jalen Ramsey is on Jamar Chase, I feel like it's going to go to T. Higgins.
Now, Chris, I was going to ask you, is Uzomah, is he cleared? Is he cleared to play?
Last I saw that he was there. I mean, I don't think they've made a full decision yet, but he's trying. I mean, they're still planning on him playing. I didn't see what their practice report was off of their last practice yesterday. But last I had seen, he was limited. So that's like a.
He's officially questionable.
Yeah, it's he has a grade 1 to 2 sprain, which I know they said basically a grade 1 sprain is if you wanted to, you could tape that up and go play with a grade 1 sprain. It's a very low level, just how much you can suck up the pain. And he's a 1 to 2. So, and that was 2 weeks ago by the time the game comes up. So he's still a pretty young guy if he can bounce back. And sure, if this was, week 6 at Cleveland, he probably would not be playing. But this is the freaking Super Bowl, and you've got months to get right after this. I would suspect he will play limited if he can go at all. I don't think, he will only be on the field probably on passing downs or as a decoy type of deal.
All right, Ed, I was going to ask you, their wide receiver core, what key plays you see them doing to be successful for tomorrow?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. But I genuinely feel, like Travis said, I agree Higgins may come out with most yards, but I also agree, Joey, and then you got Jamar Chase, that LSU duo. I genuinely feel, both of them have nothing to lose, and Jamar Chase, he's going to come out with everything that he has. So that's my take on that.
How about you, Chuck?
Honestly, I think Boyd may get more receptions. Jamar Chase will lead in yards.
Yeah.
And Higgins will lead in first down catches.
Okay.
So I think because they have a more depth at wide receiver, you're going to see him go to all three, probably pretty spread evenly. Like there may only be a 2 or 3 reception difference from one to the next to the next. But I mean, Boyd can still catch footballs. I mean, that guy still did work in fantasy for a lot of guys sometimes, in certain weeks. But you have Jamar Chase that catches the ball when it matters, and he just can't be defended when he really gets the ball. And Joe Burrow and him, they click. They can throw those that just unspoken communication type relationship that they have. But I think the three of them honestly take a lot bigger spread of the catches. But I think with Jamar's deep threat, he's going to lead the team in reception yards. But I do think that if you get Joe Mixon in on the receptions and he can take the pressure off the line, that's going to be a lot more opening up of the playbook and for that offense to click for the whole game. Because if you just need one drive and you need to get down to the 35-yard line and let your kicker do his job, well, it only takes one receiver. That's all it takes.
Sure.
So when they have that equation to do that. So if anybody watched any of these playoff games, I think it might be the year of the kicker bigger than anything else. Because for some reason and whatever reason, you've watched throughout the year and probably the last 2 or 3, PATs getting missed, field goals of short range getting missed, kickers losing their jobs. Like the kickers, for some reason, have fell off since the golden age of your boy down in Indianapolis and Vinatieri and those guys, But this year in the playoffs especially, these kickers are doing the job. So go.
And it could be just a field goal rally because the Rams, I mean, I know Evan McPherson has kind of gained the kicker spotlight if there is one, but because he's a rookie and had some a lot of 50-yarders, but the Rams kicker is no slouch. I mean, he was a Pro Bowl. I think he was a Pro Bowl, considered Pro Bowl kicker too. Of course, they didn't go because they're in the bigger one. But yeah, I think you're right on that.
Yeah, if you leave it just has to be close to the end of the game in the fourth quarter, or you let it go to overtime, and the kicker's going to decide the game. Like if they don't come up with a rule change before the Super Bowl to let the overtime change the rules, because if you're going to leave it up to the kicker and the first team to win the coin toss, well, you just let a kicker win another Super Bowl.
That's tough.
Yeah.
So.
When P. Ryan, you were saying about the screens, and so, P. Ryan, and he's run several good screens for touchdowns this year. He did it against Baltimore earlier in the year, and he's a good running back. And I had totally forgotten until I saw some reports this week about that he and Mixon were backfield mates at OU back when they were both at OU.
I think
so
I have heard that.
I think P. Ryan is a year ahead of him.
He definitely does help. He brings pressure off of Mixon with his injuries because he's had nagging things all year.
He's the third down blocking back.
Right. So he's definitely going to be a good factor for that offense too. I mean, it's going to take a full team effort, especially for that offensive line to give them the leniency they need to do their job.
Hey, Driston, you know what I was thinking though while you guys were talking? What if they start playing a little bit conservative? Do you agree or disagree that we feel that Mixon is going to cover a lot of the drop? He's going to cover a lot of the screens and just go routes. I have this feeling tomorrow, Joe, that's going to be his safety net tomorrow in case the plays are not developing. Mixon's an awesome weapon to have. So do you agree or disagree?
Yeah, I agree with that. He's a dual threat running back. He can catch the ball, he can run the ball. Very great at both. But against the Chiefs, against us, what I noticed, man, Jamar Chase, he makes those wide receiver screens. He gets 10, 15 yards out of him each time. Man, and
he's a hard runner.
Yeah, and he's fast.
He's similar to Samuel, like he's a similar build to Debo.
Yeah, and I agree. I like that comparison. He very is similar to Debo, but definitely having Mixon in the backfield is that a safety net. Yeah.
And what about you, Travis?
I feel like Joe Mixon will have an impact on that offense. Like you said, he'll make a big play when he needs to. Joe Mixon, I feel like he'll be a safety net for Joe Burrow.
All right, so now let's go ahead and move on to the Cincinnati defense. This is going to be one of the hot topics going into the Super. So they've talked about it on ESPN and a lot of the mainstream shows. So Kyle, I'm going to start this off with you. So they're just saying that the Cincinnati defense has just carried a game game by game, but they're feeling that because of the offensive weapons that the Rams have. Kyle, if you give any confidence in the Cincinnati Bengal defense, what would it be? What would be their strengths going into tomorrow's game?
I said it a little bit earlier, but I think Eli Apple and the secondary have just a huge game because the Rams are going to come out and sling the heck out of the ball. I truly believe that. All the Bengals have to do is keep the game within reach for Joey Burrow. That's it. They don't have to win the game. They don't have to keep the Rams to 6 points. Like, all they have to do is manage it to where it's a winnable game. Don't give up huge 70-yard touchdown passes. And if you do that, then you give Joey Magic the chance to come back and win.
How about you, Chuck?
I think that their defense, nobody's really, I mean, the AFC's running game hasn't been that prolific aside of Tennessee's, and he came back from that injury, so not knowing what his full effect was as far as his performance, but they've shut down the run game in the entire playoffs, and they haven't really even talked about it. It's just not a thing. You know, Jacobs didn't do much, and neither did Clyde Edwards-Helaire and them, so I think having that on your side as a unspoken effect on the game, you now just control the clock with your offense, because if their run game is basically drawn down to deep threats or OBJ taking the slot catches, I mean, you're turning that offense into a little more one-dimensional, and to do that makes your defense work a lot easier when they have to the Eli Apple. That's all he has to do. Yeah. So when you don't have to worry about the run game being as big of an effect on the offense like that, then you turn them one-dimensional and you play to your advantage of now all you have to do is defend the deep pass, you know? Mm-hmm. So I think that's a bigger effect for them as far as X's and O's go. Like, you just control the game or control the run game, and you're going to get torched for 50 yards by Cooper Kupp. Like, if he doesn't have a 40-plus yard catch, like, and you don't win the Super Bowl, that sucks because you just did something that nobody else could. But, you know, you're going to have those plays like that, but they can answer on their offense and do the same thing. So as far as their defense goes, you just got to show up. I mean, I think their defense has done a better job of lasting throughout the entire game because they've ended up with the ball last, and they've done their job, and they've had to score when they needed to. So just keep to that. Just play the script and do your job.
I like that. And Edward, I was going to ask you here. So if I'm saying this name right, Henderson, right? Chris Henderson?
Hendrick,
the defensive lineman?
Yeah, Hendrickson.
Yes, Hendrickson. The way he played against Patrick Mahomes in that last quarter, he was just driving them nuts, and they were able to find that pass rush. So, Ed, since Matthew Stafford is no Patrick Mahomes, on the defensive line, what are you thinking key components for them, what they need to do to slow down the Rams offense?
I feel like the key components, you know, they need, if they can possibly come out with a scheme like how Tampa Bay came out with Kansas City Chiefs last year's Super Bowl with Travis Kelce, Tyreek, and, you know, those other weapons. So, I mean, if they're able to manage to control, you know, Cooper, OBJ, and just, you know, having a game like they did, you know, at Arrowhead, you know, one of the loudest, you know, places, you know, in the NFL. And just, you know, that play that Eli Apple made, you know, in OT, I just feel like that built up confidence, you know, on that defense, especially on that front line, because the second half, the Chiefs went scoreless. Basically, Patrick Mahomes was, you know, a repeat of last year's Super Bowl. He was basically running for his life. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it all comes down to confidence. You know, if the defense comes out with confidence, with energy, I mean, it can be a very low-scoring game, and it can come out to, you know, McPherson, you know, making the game-winning, you know, field goal. So,
okay. I like the fact how you brought up against the Chiefs. I mean, Tristan, you heard that. You know, it's just they are the loudest, one of the loudest in the NFL. The Kansas City, and they are the most quiet. I've noticed that when they're not doing too hot, they're very. You know, it's traffic's so nice there in Kansas City. When they're losing so bad, you can get out pretty easy. I mean, you have it's quick, 15, 20 minutes. And Dallas doesn't fall behind either. You know, Dallas.
I mean, especially those KC fans, you know, when they lose, they just don't know how to lose. You know, at least, you know, us Cowboy fans, we kind of expect it already. But, you know, when Kansas City loses, it's, man, like the stuff I've heard from KC fans. I'm like, my God.
Tristan, do you have anything to say about that?
Oh, I actually agree with Edward on that, man. The Kansas City fans have been turning on Kansas City after this loss. I'm like, bro, you want us to make
AFC
3
championship.
Yeah, that would be 3 Super Bowls in a row. That's a hard thing to do, bro.
And then
Man.
I also want to add, like, mid through the season when Casey was like 3-4 or
Yeah,
And they're like,
4-4.
Mahomes needs to go.
Casey fans were just
They
like,
just-
Yeah,
they-
mad
so
smack on their own
fake.
team. It's like
It's tough.
You don't
what's
hear
going
you
on?
don't hear Chuck complaining about his Texans teams. You know what I'm saying?
Come on now.
Him and I. Well, and then here's another thing. And then let's just for a slight second, let's talk about the Chargers. Let's show some love to the Chargers because I keep saying this. The Chargers is going to be a team coming up.
Yeah.
They're missing
Yeah.
key components, but I'll tell you this: the Chargers are there. The Bengals. It took a long time to get there. Look, you guys, let's go down memory lane here. They haven't been to a Super Bowl in 30-something years. What was it, Chris? 81, 81 and 88?
88.
Chris Collinsworth, when he was giving his interview, you see how excited he is to see that his team is finally in a Super Bowl. And then don't forget the Colts fans. I mean, the Colts fans were up there too in the AFC for a while. When they were able to get over the hump against New England, they didn't know how to act. Am I right, Kyle?
I'm telling you, I'm so mad at Andrew Luck, like you would not believe. This year and last year, if we had Andrew Luck, like
Yeah.
I
Yes.
guarantee you we were in the Super Bowl.
especially with
Yeah.
That
Jonathan
team.
Taylor.
Now
in
they have a
back.
line and a defense and a
Unbelievable.
running back. Yeah.
Your time is coming, Kyle. Your time is coming. Well, let's go ahead and give a brief pause and thank our following sponsors.
Since 1990, Wichita's own Superstar Sports has everything for the fans' needs, whereas for NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, or either college. So please check them out at either the Town West Mall in Wichita, Kansas, or the Town East Mall, Wichita, Kansas, whereas Superstar Sports, where every fan is welcome.
So the moment is here, you guys. This is it. We're not talking about the halftime show. We are talking about who will win and why. Now, we will give our brief analysis why they're going to win and our personal opinion. So we're going to start this off with Chuck. Chuck, who are you taking in the Super Bowl and why?
Well, this is going to be short. Defense wins championships. It's the LA Rams.
That was very short. Okay.
I mean, that statement has won Super Bowls for years and years and years and years. Like, that's just what the NFL was about. They didn't used to throw the ball, so all they had to do was stop the run. Defense wins championships. Patriots relied on it for decades, essentially. And I don't take any credit away from the Bengals offense and what they've done this year. That's a Cinderella story to the T. And I do think it's going to be a very close game. I think it's going to be a great competition all the way down to the wire. But I just think that the Rams stick with what they've got in their specialty, and it's defense win championships.
Kyle.
I got to go with Bengals, baby. I agree with Chuck. Defense used to win championships before the NFL changed it and made it almost impossible to guard guys that are easily breaking these 40-yard runs now. Receivers are bigger, faster, stronger than they've ever been.
But these two quarterbacks have been sacked more than almost any other two duo quarterbacks in the league.
Oh,
So they're still getting hit.
yeah. And but the thing is, like we said earlier, Joey Burrow got sacked 15 times
All of them.
and still won that game.
That's
and I just think the Bengals are gonna surprise everybody. They're gonna continue the Cinderella story, keep the house money, and pull off something, probably with a field goal, believe it or not.
Travis.
I'm also going to go Bengals. I feel like their way to win is they're going to have to manage the momentum and keep it on their side. They just can't let the Rams get too far out if they do take a lead. They got to keep up with them most of the game.
Ed.
Well, I mean, I always, root for, the underdog. So I'm going to go with Cincy. And this maybe will sound like a surprise, but I feel they will win 24-17.
Ooh,
Nice.
Nice. Tristan.
Well, I got Rams on this one.
This hater.
no. I really like their defense. I think they have a much better defense, 10 times better than Cincy's. And I think just the fact that they have Cooper Kupp and OBJ, I like that duo a lot more than I like, say T. Higgins or Jamar Chase. And despite the better running game, the Rams still have a decent running game. So I got Rams by 7, and Eli Apple was overrated.
Wow, salt on the wound. Okay, so here's the thing. When you look at on the road to the Super Bowl, the Rams they hung in there, and I'm happy for Matthew Stafford being here. I mean, the guy, like they mentioned before, been in Detroit, carrying the team on his shoulders, especially having the Hall of Famer of Megatron on his side. They just never had the components to go even further. And then you see Von Miller got let go from Denver, moved over to the Rams, and he's brought wonders as well. Eric Weddle gets called up to come join the team, and look, now he's in a Super Bowl finally. And you also look how Sean McVay has, after that loss in that Super Bowl against New England, he's changed. He's playing with everything to win, nothing to lose. I mean, no, everything to lose and everything to win. And the fact is that I feel he's put everything on the line right now for this moment. And the thing is that on the other side with the Bengals is a young team. They have proven, like, hey, if we work together, we can do this. And the way they've marched their way up. When you look at both teams and look where they went, the Bengals, well, the Raiders, they played them well. The Titans, they were able to control Tennessee. Then they beat, because we all know that the Kansas City Chiefs was the best team in the playoffs. Yes, they were. I'm going to throw it to you there, Tristan. I know Kansas City fans don't know how to act right now, how I just said that. They were the best team going in, and the Bengals were able to control that. So now we are here. This is it. The city of Cincinnati has been waiting for this moment. I feel that their heart is in it. They are in it to win it. In Los Angeles, of course, I'm not going to dog them. But the thing is, with their kind of the way they're going in, they feel a little bit more confident thinking that, okay, yeah, we got this. This is why we are here. But my heart goes out to the Bengals, and I'm going to root for the Bengals for the simple fact is that it's Joe Burrow. I don't know what it is with that guy, but it's just like, dude, you know what? You made me a believer. Now, I don't know if my wallet will agree buying your jersey, but I will tell you this, though. The Bengals are here to stay. They are going to run the AFC North for the years to come. So, yes, Chris, longtime friend here, we are going for the Cincinnati Bengals. And last but not least, you, Chris, why are you choosing your team?
Oh, I think I'll go with the Bengals on this one. I really actually I like Chuck. I'm a big believer that that defenses win championships, and I think that the Bengals have an underrated defense. They've got, which is kind of weird for them. It's mostly free agents that have come in. They're very much being a small market team, very much of a draft and pay sign the guys that are good, and just fill spots with second, third tier free agents. But they kind of switched the last 2 years and really made some under the radar pickups. Trey Hendrickson was a huge one this year. Also, in the offseason, they got Eli Apple and Awuzie were huge. They made a crazy trade right at the end of preseason for B.J. Hill, who tipped that Mahomes pass in the fourth quarter, or third quarter, sorry, which was a huge turnover. DJ Reader was a big offseason pickup. Larry Ogunjobi, even though he's hurt now, was a big pickup. Trey Flowers they got from Seattle midterm. He was a pickup off the waivers, just not doing well in Seattle, and he's got some experience. So I really think that defense, they're going to harass Stafford. They're going to get a few picks. They're going to get set up in a couple spots. They have done very well against run games, so I don't think that Akers and Michelle are really going to get much headway going, which is going to take away from the play action that Stafford does quite well off. They're going to hit some. I mean, they're going to score. They're an NFL team in the Super Bowl. They're going to score some points and move the ball. Cincinnati's a bend but don't break, but they're very opportunistic defense, and especially in the playoffs have been. So Lou Anarumo, the coordinator, makes some amazing halftime adjustments that have just really won them the last few games. Really, I mean, it's they've shut down teams and put the offensive in good positions to be able to make plays and win the game for them. So, and I think that's going to happen now. I think it's going to be a close one, probably with a field goal separating it for the win.
All right, well, there you have it, you guys. Sports fellas, you heard that. Finally, we have come to the conclusion, and we will see the Super Bowl. So we will have one more episode of a recap of the NFL season. So before we leave, we just want to throw out there to follow us on YouTube, follow us on Spotify, follow us on iTunes as well. You know, like and subscribe, throw a comment in there. Tell me who you think is going to win and why. And so before we go, any final shout-outs? We'll start this off with Kyle.
I'm going to give a shout out to Eric, kind of behind the scenes all the time. You know, it's easy to sit here and talk. It's much harder to make sure everything's working and plugged in and ticking. So the shout out goes to Eric.
And I'll give a shout out to you, Chris. Your team came out, gave me a heartbreak 2 weeks ago, but it was a well-deserved win, and I'm happy you guys made it this far.
I'm going to give a shout out to fellow Charger fan Andrew.
And I want to give a special shout out to Carlos, for, giving me this invite to come in, with you guys. It's been a great time, and just the knowledge, hearing, from each and one of y'all, I'll take it.
Yeah, I'd like to do the same. Give a shout out to Carlos and the guys in the back there doing what they do for us to be able to do this here. 'Cause I really enjoy it. So, thank you guys.
I want to give a shout out to some of my friends, Damon and Kate DeYoungs, a couple of coworkers of mine, Keenan and Jeff. Thanks for listening, guys. And hey, guys, don't forget to check out some of our other shows like Vice, The Cutting Crew, and Silver Cosmos movie reviews. Some of those shows are also great. Like and subscribe. Thanks, guys.
What can I say, you guys? I want to thank you guys all in general. Thank you, Ed, for coming in. I appreciate you. Travis, of course, got to represent the West Coast. The Charger, your time will come. The Go Bolts will come one day. Of course, Chuck, the Texans. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. I don't know when, but we will. And also, Kyle, much love. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate you. And Chris, don't forget. I'm going to throw it out there for all the Chief fans. Let's start them off here. Leo and family, a lot of love to you. Also, Mike and family, big Chief fans, Val, and also my friend Dristan here. Hey, Dristan, we've been doing it week by week. I appreciate you. I mean, what can I say? Words don't express how thankful I am that we've been able to do this show with you guys as well. And Chris, I'm happy for you after the years of knowing you. Finally, your team is in the Super Bowl.
It's been a long 30 years.
I'm happy for you. Real talk. And also, I want to give a shout out to my friend Josh and the Ram fans. I know he's excited as well, getting to see his team back in the Super Bowl. I also want to thank the friends and family. And one last thing I want to say is this is going to be a interesting Super Bowl. Well, hopefully it's not as dull. I'm not looking forward too much to the halftime show. I mean, I hope it's worth watching, but we'll see. But you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We will come back next week for the recap of the NFL season. Thanks for coming in.